Howdy, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Healthy Way right here on Love 101, the family station. Today, we're talking about pregnancy and the COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah? Now, COVID-19 vaccination is recommended for all people aged 12 years and older, including people who are pregnant, breastfeeding, trying to get pregnant now, or might become pregnant in the future. So that's our discussion today. With us is Dr. Leo Walker, obstetrician and gynecologist from the Westminster Medical Center. Hey, Dr. Walker, how you do?
Hi, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to have you.
Great.
It's quite a bit this morning, and so let's start with the current recommendations as it relates to vaccine and pregnancy. Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of the newest recommendations administered by the CDC and most of the governing bodies
Mhm.
with respect to obstetrics actually recommend the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine during pregnancy, irrespective of trimester, as well as breastfeeding.
Mhm.
Now, this was a sharp change from previous recommendations since the emergence of the Delta variant,
Mhm.
which is considered twice as easily transmitted and also more likely to cause severe illness.
Right.
On that basis, we know that pregnant patients in particular are have an increased susceptibility
Mhm.
to hospitalization and severe illness as opposed to non-pregnant patients. And on that basis, it is something which is recommended in pregnancy and or breastfeeding.
Right. You did say CDC is recommending that women take the vaccine, and it's also recommended that they have a conversation with their doctor before taking the jab. So how do you start the conversation? What do you say
I
to
mean,
them?
of course, that is something that is always recommended. There's a great deal of vaccine hesitancy, particularly with respect to the COVID-19 vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always encouraged that patients seek advice from their healthcare provider if they have any questions, concerns, and issues which need to be addressed. Of course, particularly in pregnancy, there's the concern of whether it affects the pregnancy, whether or not it has any effect on the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things which we can discuss in that office setting
Right.
and alleviate any potential fears that the vaccine may have, any effect on woman's body and or the child.
Mm-hmm. And then it leads me to how safe or effective is the vaccine during pregnancy? Yeah.
Well, they do have, some initial studies which are, pretty significant, talking about over 150,000 pregnant women,
Mm-hmm.
where they evaluated the effect of the vaccine in the pregnancy itself. And this is, whether it's first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, or breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And they really found no significant harmful effects to majority of these pregnant women, uh, as well as the increased chance of the fetus developing some form of immunity against the COVID-19 infection, because they were able to isolate antibodies within the umbilical cord itself.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the possibility of that protection now being passed on to the fetus without any significant harmful effects. And we're talking about no increase in the risk of miscarriage, no increase in the risk of birth defects, no increase in the risk of preterm birth or preterm labor. So it has been proven to be highly effective in the sense that on average, and we're talking about all different types of vaccines, on average, you have around a 90 to 95% reduction in asymptomatic infection as well as severe illness and hospitalization
Mm-hmm.
with respect to the COVID-19 infection.
Right.
Those figures are slightly adjusted when we're talking about the Delta variant.
Mm-hmm.
It's around an 80 to 85% reduction in asymptomatic infection and hospitalization. So it's effective and it has been proven to be safe.
Right. And and you did say the trimester, it doesn't matter. So whichever is safe.
Absolutely. So there's no
Mm-hmm.
limitation or no trimester limitation. There's
Right.
nothing that states that these women must wait until after 12 weeks in the pregnancy or avoid taking the vaccine during the first trimester. It is something which has been administered, throughout various trimesters of the pregnancy as well as breastfeeding.
Right. And then I was reading, and it said that the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines are mRNA. And when we talk about mRNA, we're simply talking about codes for your gene. It perhaps form a protein, for example, the color of your eye. So it's sort of new, and it's not the traditional way in which folks are immunized. So it raises a lot of concerns, and that's why I asked about how safe the vaccine is for the mother and the baby. So what I want to find out though, will it form part of the baby's DNA?
No, absolutely not. So mRNA vaccines have been around for a while now. I think the first mRNA vaccine was actually developed in 1989. So it's been around for a while now. It's just that more recently they've perfected how to use these mRNA vaccines to mount a reasonable immune response, which will confer long-term protection. Now, all mRNA is referred to as messenger RNA, and all it carries is the code to develop a particular viral protein. That viral protein is what the body will detect, develop antibodies against the virus, which would allow it to mount an immune response. Now, mRNA is, highly unstable in that once it's administered, within days it's broken down and degenerates. So it's not something which lasts, in the body and is able to change your DNA, because this mRNA doesn't even enter the nucleus of the cell, which is what contains the DNA. Because it's broken down so rapidly, that is why it requires these second doses and, quite possibly now a booster dose to ensure that this immunity is long-lasting and can provide you with long-term protection. So all mRNA is an mRNA, is an RNA particle which carries the code for a particular viral protein, which then allows your body to mount this immune response. So there's really no change in the DNA at all. mRNA degenerates in less than a week after administration, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, right. And the opening, I said that if you're breastfeeding, then it's okay for you to take the vaccine.
Absolutely,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Right, and so we encourage people to get out and go get their vaccine. Some of your patients taken the vaccine already, Dr. Walker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even prior to the emergence of the Delta variant,
Right.
there are patients who would have been considered high risk of infection, that is, healthcare workers, doctors, and nurses, who are encouraged to take the vaccine simply because their risk is significantly higher than the non-medical personnel who is not constantly exposed to the potential of the COVID infection. But definitely now, with the emergence of the Delta variant, which is considered to be the predominant variant in the States, and probably will be the predominant variant locally, I would encourage our patients, pregnant or non-pregnant, to get vaccinated.
Right. Very well. Yeah, the COVID-19 vaccine can protect you from severe illness. And so we encourage our listeners to do the right thing. Yeah, do the right thing. All right, I want to wrap this morning. You want to add anything else before we go?
Absolutely. COVID-19 infections, confer significant morbidity and mortality, particularly with the emergence of the Delta variant. I encourage everyone to be safe, social distance, wear a mask, and, if possible, try and get that vaccine as soon as you can.
Indeed. How can we find you again, Dr. Walker?
So you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Leo Walker, or at the Westminster Medical Center, that's 1A Westminster Road. You can also contact me via telephone at 876-372-3790.
Thanks, my friend. Appreciate it. Keep safe.
Yeah, man, same pleasure.
Very well. Dr. Leo Walker there. Yeah, obstetrician, a gynecologist on the Westminster Medical Center. Yeah, our conversation today, the COVID-19 vaccine and pregnancy. Yeah, this is Love 101, and it is the family station. We are, talking about the vaccine. Yeah, and so we encourage you to get up, get out, and go and get vaccinated. Thanks, Martino. Appreciate it too. Yeah.